or script and everything. Then I already did the reading once, and I just didn't care for it. I just didn't care for it. So why use it? I think it's been part of my problem. Is I'm just too hung up on, I need to sit down and write a script, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And since I'm too hung up on doing that, I'm not doing anything. And I think that's part of my problem. So let's not worry about that. And I'm gonna turn this away. Hang on, because I keep looking at myself. Because I just can't help it. So we'll just turn that away. That way I'm not looking at myself. I'm looking at you. Talking to you. Welcome to my channel. So hey, it's me. It's Tony Stonk. And here we go. This is what we're going to talk about. I finally figured it out. I finally got it. We're going to talk about cults. Cults. C-U-L-T-S. And you know why? Because I love cults. I think cults are one of the most interesting subjects on the planet to talk about. Cults and, you know, how they operate and how people can get hung up with these things and what kind of person leads a cult, what kind of person joins a cult. I've decided to look at some of my favorite cults. My favorite cults? It's just a fascination. It's not just like, oh man, this cult's awesome, I should join them. It's not like that. It's just ones that fascinate me. Like, we're talking about Jonestown and about Jim Jones, because Jim Jones is from Indiana. Indiana's right next to the state I live in. And there's just a lot about Jim Jones a lot of people probably don't know unless they've really looked into it. So I want to educate a little bit about Jim Jones, leader of the People's Temple, of course, the Jonestown Massacre, which I know what you're thinking right now. You're like, oh, that's the drink Kool-Aid guy.
Wrong-o.
It's not Kool-Aid. It's Flavor Aid. But we'll talk about that. I'm not even sure you can get Flavor Aid anymore. I'll have to look that up. We're going to talk about Heaven's Gate.
Now, the end of the age, I'm afraid I feel, is right upon us.
UFO doomsday cult that committed ritualistic mass suicide. Is it mass? I mean, how many does it require to be considered mass? They all committed suicide back in the 90s because they were going to ride on the ship to the comet to whatever planet they're supposed to go to. Which, you know what? Maybe they did. We don't know. Maybe they're all in that spaceship laughing at us right now.
We'll see you in our next session.
We're talking about some more modern stuff that people are probably familiar with. We'll talk about the NXIVM cult with Keith Raniere, volleyball playing, knee pad wearing Keith Raniere himself, and Allison Mack, and how all that went down and what ended up happening with that. Talking about some stuff that I guess you probably would say hasn't been actually classified as a cult yet, but I feel like they might just meet the criteria. Like the Lori Vallow Daybell, who killed her kids because Chad Daybell told her that they're demons. I mean, that's another thing that I want to get into, is what really constitutes a cult. We're going to kind of compare and contrast, you know, the characteristics of a cult. There's a famous guy named Rick Allen Ross. Not the rapper Rick Ross. Not hustling.
Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling.
Not hustling. Not that guy. Rick Allen Ross, who is a very famous cult deprogrammer. We'll look at some of the stuff that he's talked about, how he deprograms these people, what to look for in a destructive cult, what makes a cult considered destructive. We'll look at a lot of other things like that. We'll be putting up a video about Jonestown pretty soon. I don't know how many parts it's going to be. I'm not going to try to cram it all into one, because there's just so much information that people need to know about Jonestown. Like, cram it all into one. I want to kind of space it out a little bit. So, you like cults? I think the button's right there, or it might be right there. I don't know, because this image is kind of flipped. Come join the Cult of Stonk, and we'll see you around.